Chambers. Here. Commissioner Montrell McClendon. Here. Commissioner Clint Chance.
Here.
Commissioner Tommy Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Steve Fuller.
Here.
Commissioner Ernie Reynolds.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call on Pastor Vincent Dorch of Antioch Baptist Church, Clem, that is celebrating their 135th anniversary, to offer our invocation tonight.
May we bow our heads for a word of prayer. Eternal God, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for life, health, and strength. And now, Lord, as we come before this meeting, we ask that you would be with all our leaders throughout this county. We ask that you would bless them, give them the knowledge, the wisdom to lead this county to higher heights. And Lord, we thank you for the citizens, and we just ask that you would continue to use us to be a light to you, that you would get the glory and the honor. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We have some very special guests here tonight with us. Juan and Claudia Hernandez and their children Anna, Juan, Mary Anna, and Isabella. The Hernandez family has just completed their journey to receiving their U.S. citizenships. I'd like to ask them to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And guys, before you sit down, we'd like them to come up here and turn around. We'd like to do a picture.
You can sit.
Of them celebrating this exciting moment. I think Christy's going to do our... Thank you very much and congratulations.
Congrats. Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion made.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. You each have a copy of the April 23rd, 2019 Special Call Commission meeting minutes. Are there any corrections?
Madam Chair. I apologize. I actually turned my phone off and it's come on going. Madam Chair, I do have a couple of corrections to notate. Under public comments, change from us, I guess, to US, capital S. Under section 911, the Whitesburg City Library, change request to provide enter needs to be changed to request to provide and enter, or request or enter into. Section 10 under zoning session, it states before beginning the zoning session, Chairman Smith, that should be changed to Chairman Chambers. And then section 10.5, rezoning Little Vine Church Road, Commissioner Powers opposed, and Commissioner Powers is misspelled. So I would make a motion to approve with those amendments as presented.
Okay, does anybody else have any other? Okay, so I have a motion with some changes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Unopposed? Okay, great, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Public comments are just that, an opportunity for the public to address the commission with any issues or concerns they may have. This is not time for the board to comment, nor will the board take any action on these comments tonight. There is a sign-up sheet in the back. We will take those comments first, and then anyone else wishing to do so may comment. The first person I have is Daniel Jackson with the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. Carroll, tomorrow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, good to see you all. I want to take this opportunity to come and welcome our new leadership, and Michelle as chair, congratulations, and Steve and Ernie, congratulations to you as well. Happy birthday, by the way. I think it's your birthday today, right?
Thank you.
We've always enjoyed a great relationship with Carroll County, with the leadership, elected leadership, with staff, and we expect that to continue. So we want to be here tonight to congratulate you. Just a couple of updates very quickly. One, as Chamber of Commerce, obviously, we keep an inventory of large facilities, buildings, projects. There's been some inquiry about the Children Detention Center. Wanted to share with you, one, we've had no contact on that whatsoever. I know we've heard and read some things. I talked with a state elected official, and they were not aware of, one, that we had any facility that accommodate, nor are we. And secondly, there was no conversation looking this direction. And then I had conversation with another gentleman who's in that space at the state level. He indicated there were some other communities who might have an interest, but he certainly didn't see that our way. So obviously they don't have to come through us, but I just wanted to share with you, we've had no conversation. It doesn't mean we would, but the likelihood of a project this big, we probably would have some knowledge, and we're not aware of anything. To that point, let me share that you've heard from the State Department of Labor, we're at an all-time high for employment in the state of Georgia, which is very exciting. Carroll County has more people employed than we ever have in the history of Carroll County, which is exciting. Here's the challenge, and we've got an educator here and others in the room. That's why this community spends so much time on workforce development. You all do that, we do that, and others in this community. And this is important because we want to give our students and our adults that opportunity to be educated, trained, and perhaps retrained so that they can fill those jobs. Our number one employment sector is manufacturing, goods producing, and that's a good thing, and we want to keep it that way. There's some large projects you're all aware of that are currently going on. The Tanner Pavilion across the street, which was due to open in the fall, probably October. The Richards College of Business, they're beginning to move trees, so we're going to have a new College of Business. And then we'll have an entire West Georgia Technical College campus that we're very excited about. We're told this will be the second largest project in the state for a new campus, and so I think you'll all be excited. We've talked about bringing those folks to come and share with you in another meeting or two and let you begin to see what that's going to look like. You'll be very pleased with that as well. Anyway, just wanted to thank you all, congratulate those of you that are new. We look forward to continuing to work with you, and it's a good time to be in Carroll County. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
I have
Oh.
a question. Danny, I have one question. When is the West Georgia Technical College supposed to break?
You know, a project like that takes a while. They're doing the due diligence on it now. There's a possibility they may break dirt by the end of this year, probably fourth quarter or first of next year. I think they're probably looking at fall of 2022 to open up for classes. And it's going to look like a little junior college campus. It's really going to be exciting. So it'll take a little while, but it'll be worth the wait. But hopefully we'll begin to see and hear some things, and maybe we can celebrate breaking dirt maybe as soon as fourth quarter.
Well, thank you and all of your people for the hard work.
You bet. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the list, I have an Ariel Nix. And when you come forward, if you'll give us your name again and your address, please.
My name is Ariel Nix, and I live in Temple, Georgia. The address is 137 Glendale Boulevard, Temple, Georgia 30179. Okay. I'm glad to hear that the migrant facility is possibly, or not possibly, happening here in Carrollton, but I do just want to say this, my experience of the whole thing. On July 5th, I became aware of a Facebook event that was urging Carroll County citizens to attend tonight's board meeting in response to an article that was written in the Times-Georgian, which suggested that Carroll County and other counties surrounding the Atlanta area were being looked at as a possible location for a migrant facility. On the morning of July 9th, I took it upon myself to look up the phone numbers of the board members and give each of them a call. At the time, due to the ongoing election with the chairman's seat, only 4 numbers were available to me, and only 3 out of those 4 answered. I was nervous to call the board members, and I wrote down the first question that I wanted to ask to each of them. My question simply was this: is it true that Carroll County is being considered as a possible location for future migrant detention facilities? The first phone number that answered me was Commissioner McClendon. And at the time of my phone call, he was completely unaware of any of this, but promised to find out more information and get back to me. However, Commissioner Chance and Commissioner Lee responded to my question with a yes. They did not let me know, or they did let me know, that something like this would probably not happen in Carroll County because they doubted that Carroll County would fit the requirements for the facility. And I decided to make flyers, which you may have seen circulated around on social media. And I watched as it got tossed back and forth, and some of the things that people were commenting were absolutely heartbreaking for me to read. I'm glad that most of Carroll County seems to be against this, but it definitely isn't for the right reasons. These are children in cages and families being separated. These are actual breathing human beings whose lives that we're just sitting and debating about. And on July 12th, Carroll County released their official statement, and as promised, Commissioner McClendon got back to me and let me know. And while I'm glad to hear that there's no formal application here, the truth is that the Trump administration is actively looking for places to put these facilities in areas surrounding sanctuary cities. And just because it may not happen in Carroll County doesn't mean that this is just magically going to go away. My hopes is that this will serve as a wake-up call to people, and there are people at the border who need us to speak up for them. And don't let the fight for that end here. There's so much more work that can be done. And on that day, I also started a petition, and then within 3 days, it had over 1,000 signatures. I printed it out so I can show you. It has over 1,500 now. Guess that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I cannot, let's see. Patrick Butch, Miss Straight, I can't read this, the third handwriting. Can you, Steve, is there, can you tell me who that? Misty?
Temple?
No, this one right here.
Which one?
The third one, can you read that?
No, this one.
Mystery, okay. I'll go to the next one, then if I've missed you, you'll still have time to talk. Aberdeen Miller? Okay. Deidre Rouse and Carolyn Gray. Okay, I'm going to make it better by hand.
Good evening, and congratulations to the new chair and the new commissioners. Deidre and I are here representing the NICE initiative. This thing started 2 years ago, and it is a community change initiative. It has to do with diversity and inclusion, but also just the quality of life of Carroll County. And the last time we were here, we received a proclamation from the commission accepting our proposal and announcing that the NICE project was going to start in 2019. But then the chairman resigned, and then we have all of the elections and everything. So we wanted to let you know that we started, and we've started the survey, and we will be surveying at public conferences and events all over the county till the end of the year, and we'll be asking questions about the quality of life in the county and in particular cities. And we have a little handout here to give each one of you a copy of the survey form and a little brochure which explains it all. We want to get on your agenda for the work session for September so we can bring everybody up to date on the whole program, the new people, and also just to let you know what we're doing.
And for those of you who are not familiar with the NICE project, NICE stands for Neighborly Inclusive, Committed to Everyone's Success. And so our ultimate goal is to make the quality of life better for everyone in Carroll County, as well as applying in, I think now maybe 2020, for the Reader's Digest, one of the nicest places to live. So in your packet, you will have an updated brochure for the new commissioners you'll have a fact sheet for our former commissioners or returning. It's the same fact sheet you received back in March, and then you'll also have a volunteer form. And to expand on what Carolyn was saying, we know sometimes it's hard to get individuals to take surveys, so we plan on going different places, like we started on July 27th, going to the annual Village Youth Summit, having a table at the AMP. We'll be going to what Rootville has, Temple, so we can really get information from all of the citizens in Carroll County, working with the University of West Georgia and Dr. Emily McKendry Smith and her team of graduate students to assess the surveys for us. So we'll leave you with an updated folder for each of you, and we look forward to everyone participating per the proclamation on December the 4th, 2018 by the Board of Commissioners on the NICE project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I don't have any more names, but there were some people who I couldn't read your handwriting, so is there anybody else that would like to come forward and speak? I'll ask, is there anybody else that would like to make some comments during the public comment section? Okay, not seeing anyone else, we'll move on. Before we move into the financial session, and before I call on our Finance Director, Alicia Searcy, to present the proposed budget resolution, I want to address some of the budget-related questions that were brought up at our work session last Thursday. So I took notes and then went back and watched the video, so I make sure I've got all your questions answered. Carroll Connection. This concerns the performance indicators for Carroll Connections, the transit center. We have a snapshot, which is a handout, of the system's first year of service, which shows 15,330 trips were provided, with 44% of those trips were education-related. 15% were medical, and another 15% was senior services. The county contributes $35,000 annually for this service, a little over 10% of the total operating cost. The remainder of the total cost, which was $311,000 for our first year, is covered by 5311 Rural Transportation Grant and fanfare box collections. I believe Susan's going to hand them.
Oh, I thought the whole page was on. There you go.
I just want to make sure, give you a moment to look at that, since y'all had some questions on it. And we're still short.
There they go.
Okay, you got yours. Yay. We'll get a system going by the next one. I'll give you a second if you have any more questions.
I've got a comment.
Okay, please.
I just took some rough figures, and this is just an FYI. If you look, one question came up during the campaign of utilization of Carroll Connection, and if you take the number of hours and say they're open 5 days a week, 6 vans, do all the multiplication, if it takes about 20 minutes to do the average 8-mile trip, which is stated as what the distance is of the average trip, anyway, multiplying all that out, you get that they're utilized about at a 45 to 50% capacity. So I just thought that was interesting. We can stand to have a lot more people take Carroll Connection.
Okay, another question we have is about our parks. The concerns about the accountability of fees paid for the use of our parks, and also about the fees charged, and that's for the county and non-county residents and for seniors. I've asked, obviously Ben Skipper's already jumped up to address these concerns, and we also have a packet for you. And in that packet, it contains a parking pass, maps of the park, and a fee schedule for each of the parks. I'd like to really encourage you to use our parks, understand who is in the parks, see the constituents and the guests that come, and get to know all our parks, no matter where you live, especially from Carrollton. Each park is about 15 minutes from downtown Carrollton. So, Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you right this moment.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. One of the questions was regarding to fees for residents and non-residents, and through researching this, I've learned a lot about how we got to this point in Carroll County. McIntosh Park started in '84, and to '84 to 2003, there were no fees charged. In 2003, under Chairman Barr's administration, there was a $2 non-resident fee, and then it later rose to a $3 fee. But the fees for non-residential and residential are actually regulated by the United States Department of Interior's Title 36 regulations, which is on all properties that have received funding or bound by Title 36 non-residency discrimination clause. So in that, which is that no unreasonable fees can be charged. So Carroll County thought that $3 per car would be a reasonable fee. But then in 2010, Carroll County then assumed the property of John Tanner State Park, and it became John Tanner County Park. And I'm sure the legal team at that time in 2010 wanted to follow the stay in guidelines with this United States Department of Title 36 regulations, which McIntosh Reserve took $100,000. Moore's Bridge took $100,000 from the federal government in acquiring these parks and doing work within the parks. In the thought process at that time is that John Tanner State Park also had received the same federal funding. And they felt like following the state's guidelines, which did not differentiate between resident or non-resident, and then the county in 2010 adopted for all the parks at the time, which was Tanner and McIntosh, the state fee system, which was already at John Tanner. So because at the process back in 2010, in meeting with Darrell Johnson, the parks manager for McIntosh, is that we had two parks and different fee schedules. So to make everything equal, they added it and made it same as John Tanner Park countywide. 2012, Little Tallapoosa Park opened. It followed the same fee schedule. And then 2017, Moore's Bridge Park opened. It followed the fee schedule. And then far as differences, seniors, I know Commissioner Reynolds and I spoke about that. The seniors get a 50% discount on their annual park passes. And I'm thinking, did I get all the questions? Was there any more, Chairman, District Commissioners?
Y'all each have a handout if you want to take a moment and look at all the fees, because they are in our budget.
The what?
Receipt system and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, the receipt system. John Tanner Park and Little Tallapoosa Park, the state system used a receipt system. So, and the park manager for John Tanner State Park, or John Tanner County Park, I was here when it was a state park. I'm one of those older kids. So that park manager is Beth Parsons. So, and she's the manager of Tanner and Tallapoosa. So when she was buying the park passes and doing her gatekeeping schedule and accounting, she used the system that the state already had in place for Little Tallapoosa Park. This June, during the audit, Finance Director Alicia Searcy saw that McIntosh was not using the same system, had requested that our department use the same system for McIntosh. And since that time, we've ordered the annual passes, the day passes, with a numbering system that will then correlate to fees and a number. So all parks now in Carroll County should have the same accounting countywide for a park system. Did I get all the questions?
Any other questions for Ben?
No questions. I'd just like to say thank you for looking into that. And reporting.
Well, it was, I did not know how we got to resident and non-resident until it actually came through the federal funding side. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one of the next things was on the ambulance, and we'll ask our attorney, Stacy Blackman, to address this question.
Thank you. The question was about the EMS service, and the county has a contract with a private company, West Georgia Ambulance Service, to provide the emergency medical services, and they provide 6 advanced life support units with 6, the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coverage. And then in 2015, to provide more review and accountability, the Board of Commissioners set up an EMS review committee that also helps with that review and provides support for that. If anyone wants copies of those agreements, just email Susan or Christy and we can get you those or get you any more detail. But that EMS review committee is there in place to help you get the answers you need.
I got a question.
Yes.
If we get 24 hours, 7 days a week, why did the police of Billerica have to take that child to the hospital the other day, emergency room? Did you answer that?
I'm sorry, but I can't answer that, but we can look into it.
It's that kind of thing that I heard during the campaign that bothers me a little. I'm glad to hear there's an EMS review committee. Possibly this issue is for them, but I've heard that ambulances that are supposed to be used for emergency services are instead tied up a lot of times with non-emergency transport calls, and so we don't have sufficient number of ambulance coverage, and that can create some gaps, especially if there's a large accident. So I'm still, regardless of the committee or no committee, I still hear that echoing in my mind and wonder if we're adequately covered.
So Susan, could I ask that you make sure Ernie knows when the next meeting is and he can attend and address these questions and maybe get back with the rest of the board?
I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, the recreation gymnasium, I'm going to skip that question for the moment because we will have Vince coming before us in another item, so I'll let him address it at that point. Commissioner Chance, I know you had some questions the other day, and I believe you've got the answers. Will you report back to the board for us?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I had stated last Thursday that I thought that there was approximately $1,600 a month that we were spending on essentially management of social media. And in speaking with Ms. Cersei, when we went and reviewed that information, it looked like it was right around $1,500. But it looks that the previous administration did end that around November or December of last year. And I appreciate them taking the initiative to do that after I had explained my displeasure with their services. And I also want to state that that shouldn't be any reflection on the previous administration. I think they did their job, that we needed to try to find a way equitably to bring in someone to handle social media management. It just seems that it didn't work out. So I did want to state that, and there's nothing to officially take out of the proposed FY20 budget because it did end in FY19. Thank you.
Good, thank you for that. Another question was about Public Works not being considered as public safety, which really falls under the chart of accounts. So in 1997, the Georgia General Assembly passed legislation requiring the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to develop a local government uniform chart of accounts. The uniform chart of accounts was approved by the state auditor and adopted by DCA in 1998. Georgia counties are required to use this uniform chart of accounts. Carroll County follows the state law requirement. The chart of accounts is divided into function and activity classifications, i.e. general government, judicial, public safety, public works, etc. The public safety classification includes sheriff, corrections, fire, EMS, coroner, E911, animal control, and emergency management. Do we have any further questions concerning the chart of accounts or the difference in the 5% and the 2% raises?
I would just state, Madam Chair, that I appreciate that research that you and the staff had brought forward. I do think moving forward, I think it's we need to move forward with the county's business with this proposed FY20 budget. But I think moving forward, if we spoke with our attorneys, and I'd like some feedback, I don't know that there's anything to prohibit us from considering Public Works as a part of public safety. I think everyone that is getting the 5% raise, that's a part of the state initiative that they recognize these departments as public safety. I agree with those, but it's hard to also sit and differentiate and know that in Public Works, if we have a hailstorm, a windstorm, a flood, a snowstorm, these ladies and gentlemen that go out at all hours of the night, it's hard not to consider them a part of public safety as well, to get the physical nature of our county back in good working order that presents a lot of safety hazards because of natural acts of God. So I would just ask moving forward that we consider being able to include them, but I do appreciate the staff getting the information together, technically what the state recognizes as public safety.
Great. And maybe we can address this at our future work session. One of the last things I had on my list was pictometry of aerial maps for the tax assessor. This was another question, Clint, that you had. I did have a discussion with the Board of Assessors Chairman James Fulford, and we agreed at this time that their board and their staff will look into possible alternatives to offer us to see what they can do possibly and maybe include it in next year's budget.
Thank you.
Alicia, I'll now ask you to go over the resolution providing for the FY 2020 county budget.
Thank you, Commissioners, for taking the time to work with me on the budget. And I think, as we stated the other night, I think we have a real solid budget here. We worked very hard and diligently about coming up with real revenue numbers and also matching expenses to that. In the resolution, we have an additional part-time IT person, a full-time solicitor, part-time probate court, and moving one full-time position or one part-time position at the Ag Ed Center to a full-time position. Those are the biggest staff changes that we have. We pretty much have gone over all of the budget. There's about a $3 million increase in revenue, which is supported in the package, in a line-by-line increase. And a big part of the expenses that we're increasing are the wages. So I'd be open to any questions if you have any.
Do I have a motion to approve the budget?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair, if you would be willing to indulge me for a couple of minutes, I wanted to make a couple of positive comments, I think, about this budget process. Obviously, the budget's not perfect. There's going to be things that we always want to include or take out, but that's a part of working together as a team. I think that given the circumstances, no one's fault. I just think we've had a lot of administration changes. Chairman Marty Smith and Mr. Pilgrim, the operations manager, did what best they could when they left. Interim Chairman Chambers came in, and I appreciate him taking some initiative on some things that I had made personally about some comments of being able to meet with the department heads. And I know, Madam Chairman, that you've come in and been able to do some things as well. And so nothing's going to be perfect. I think one item that I'm proud of, that we're all proud of, is the public safety respective. I mentioned that I'd like to see Public Works put in that in the future, but 5%, all of our employees being able to receive a raise, but 5%, there's been an outcry in the community about public safety. And if you look at the dollar an hour that's being given to the firefighters, that averages out between 7 and 13% raise. If you look at the amount of hours that they work, because they don't work a typical 40-hour work week. So I think that's something we're moving positive in the right direction. Another thing that's been heavily discussed is about this budget going up $3 million from the previous year. And so looking at a lot of the numbers, speaking with Ms. Cersei as well, if you look at what was projected for FY19, we were looking at a little over $50 million. If you look at the actuals, since we've been moving further down the road, since this has been delayed some from July 1, we're actually going to be closer, give or take, to $52 million of actuals from FY19. So if you look at FY20, what's being proposed, you're really only looking at about $1 million increase instead of a full $3 million compared to the actuals. And so I just think that's important for us to take into consideration. Another thing to look at, a lot of these projections are coming from sales tax projected revenue increases with the economy continuing to pick up, ad valorem tax increases. There are property tax increases figured in this, but that is coming from new builds. And so researching some of the information, I think we're looking countywide at right at 1,000 new buildings, if you will, within all of Carroll County. So that's additional buildings that were not on the previous year's tax digest. So I think there's been some innuendos or some misconceptions floating out about this $3 million change in the budget, and I just thought that those things were important to mention. In addition, ACCG likes to see a county that's healthy with a reserve line between 16 and 25%, and I think we're hovering around 23%. So I think we're financially sound when you look at that as well. I also want to talk about us continuing to look at ways to constantly be more efficient. I think that's something that the board has always looked at, but making sure that we have certain departments that are revenue generators, making sure that we are maximizing the potential of those particular departments. I want to thank the HR department. Again, I brought this up a couple of months ago, Ms. Lee and her staff, and I also want to thank the employees who have bought into the wellness program. We've had 2 years of flat renewals, and I think everyone understands when you look at health insurance, that's something that continues to go up and up and up. And this is a program that the county has tried to combat that. So what would our budget look like if we had had a 2% increase, 5% increase on health insurance? We may be looking at 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand that would have been added into this budget expenditure-wise. That would have been that amount of money we've not been able to add or do additional things that we've been able to do. So I think I look at this board and I hope we will continue to support the wellness program and thank Ms. Lee and her staff and continue to thank the employees who have bought into the program. And so overall, I think the greater good is in the totality of this budget. And I know I've asked a lot of questions and had things that I would have liked to have seen in there, but I know this is a group effort and I appreciate everyone. This has been a big administrative change, and I think the staff and the commission board has done as best we could.
Thank you. Any other comments or any discussion?
Could you indulge me in a minute? As a new commissioner, I want to say thank you to our department heads. I guess I really didn't expect the extent of ready cooperation that I got, and it's terrific. I looked into parks, and I looked into roads, and I looked into this, that, and the other, and everything. The department heads were very responsive, and I even to the questions as you've heard tonight, and I just really want to thank you. I appreciate that. That's an immense positive. I want to echo what Clint was saying as far as the public safety. I just during a campaign looked into on a very cursory basis compared our per capita and our dollars per mile, square mile expenditures for the fire department to Coweta County, and we're at about half. And so I think we're operating very leanly in the fire department. I think the raises there are certainly necessary in order to prevent a middle management crisis that we are headed to if we don't correct the bleed from that department. I am also grateful to our HR department for the effort that they have and they will continue to put into to award our employees that are doing excellent jobs and maybe do a pay for performance in the future. And I think that would be great. So thanks.
Great. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Great. Thank you very much. Next, we have consideration of bids for the renovation of the basketball, volleyball gymnasium floor. I've asked our Recreation Director, Vince Collins, to answer your questions from the work session before he presents his request of 8.2.
Good evening, and thank you, Chairman. First, wanted to thank Commissioner Chambers for presenting the floor proposal for me at the work session. I owe you like 50 now, and I know you're keeping track. Thank you, though. I know there were some questions at the work session, and I would like to address those. The question about why gymnastics was moved to the basketball volleyball gym in 2008 is a very good question, and I really wish I had the exact reason for you. I know our gymnastics program started in Oak Mountain's old gym facility, and the director at the time, Ben Dillard, decided to move it to one half of our double gymnasium in 2008. So that's about the extent of the knowledge I have in that matter. I was just an athletic coordinator at the time, so I wasn't in the decision process on that part of it. The second question was about open gym. As you all know, we had gymnastics on one half of the double gym since 2008. And we actually stopped open gym in 2008 once gymnastics classes started in there. We didn't want little girls to be subjected to any grown men playing a game of basketball and what might come out of their mouth, just to be honest with you. Now that the gymnastics has its own building, and we will start looking into starting our men's basketball league back up, and we will start open gym back up. I was heavily involved in both of them back in 2008. But with the limited amount of part-time workers and in turn part-time hours, open gym will probably be limited to normal operation hours, just so we can make sure we have everything else covered with the hours that we do have. But to answer your questions, we will start open gym now that we have both floors back open. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess, as I said last time, I really like basketball, and I'm kind of bothered by having a large, expensive facility that we have, and it not be open to the public in general. What I mean is not organized leagues and not people who can play in their own basketball gyms in high school or wherever, but for those who maybe enjoy the game and can't afford to have their own enclosed gym. I'd like to know that there's a facility that we spent money for that our taxpayers in general can access, and to the extent that it can be open various hours as much as possible for free play. I don't know if that could be on the weekends. I mean, if people work and I want to play from 6 to 9. I found some church gyms where that can be done, but when we have a big facility as we do with, the basketball goals and the clock and first class facility, I just don't like to see it sitting there not being used and not able to be utilized by the people who have paid for it. And I don't mean leagues.
I agree totally. The more people that come to our facility, the more they're going to come back to our facility. And we want our children to come to our facility.
Well, the one thing, if you build it, they will come. But when they came, it was closed, and so I wish that wouldn't happen. So
right in 2008, we had open. In 2007, prior to that, we had open gym, and it was very effective. The guys that were in the men's basketball leagues, they would come during the day, shoot for the games at night, and we all played in it, and it worked, and that's what we're going to get back to now that we have both courts back open. The only thing is that we do have leagues like you have talked about. We have volleyball. We have over 100 girls in volleyball in the fall and spring, and we have the volleyball standards that stay up during volleyball season. So it's really hard to have open gym when you have volleyball standards in the gym. We're having to use Central Elementary School's 2 gyms for basketball and for volleyball. I rented Grace Covenant Church for the last 4 years to cover our basketball needs. So open gym will probably take place all through the day when there's nothing in there. But during the actual volleyball season, it's really hard to have open gym and have $2,000 worth of standards messed up because of basketballs. Does that make any sense too?
Yeah, I just want as much as possible for our people to utilize it.
We will. And one big thing is I really want to get back in the men's league. In 2007, when all this took place, we had 20 men's teams in the league. And one night, they came in, put gymnastics down, and the next night we were supposed to have games on both courts. So it happened overnight. It wasn't talked about as a staff. It just happened. It's over now. Luckily, we have a gymnastics facility now, and we can go back to the way we were.
Great. If y'all don't have any further questions, Vince, I'm going to let you present 8.2, the recreation gymnasium floor.
My recommendation on the gym flooring to be accepted for bids from the 2 one-court dealer is the Snap Sports Maple Revolution flooring in the amount of $89,210.30 to be taken out of the Recreation Splus account.
Are there any
Got a couple questions. I went out there, toured the facility, took a video and all this. I don't see a thing wrong with, as you walk in, the whole left-hand side. I mean, the floor looks good, everything looks perfect on the left-hand side. The right-hand side looks like where the gymnastics equipment was bolted down, and yes, there are holes in it and so on. Question is it necessary to replace the entire floor, or can we keep that one half that is good?
Well, it's starting to split as well. There are seams that showed Commissioner Chance. The seams are starting to split on that side as well. There's a bigger crack on the other side on one of the seams, but both sides are already starting to crack. So, yeah, you could go in and do only half court, but next year you might turn around and have to do the other court.
How old is it?
2006 it was built. So it's got a 10-year warranty on that rubber flooring that's down, and we got 13 years out of it. Talking to other rec departments around the state, they didn't even get 10 years out of it. So what's so great about this flooring is it comes in pieces. And if you mess up one of those pieces, you just take that piece out and put another one down. Or if you ever have a large event that has a lot of tables or anything like that, you can take the whole flooring system up, store it, put your stuff down, then put that back down later, so you never ruin your floor.
Where's the vendor located? Atlanta. Is there not any more local vendor then? Okay.
No. The patent is owned by Snap Sports. Their dealer for the state of Georgia is 2-1 Corps.
I mean, I just didn't want to for sure end up like this tractor situation. So
no, this is specialized product that not anybody can just bid on.
Have we exhausted the local?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Fuller, I'm not trying to speak for you, but you stated, I think, at the work session that this was, I don't want to say trend because we don't spend money for trends, but you're starting for safety reasons, a lot of different things. This is a new style flooring that's being put in nearly all commercial or public facilities.
The high schools are going back to the wooden floors.
Okay.
But the high-use gymnasiums are going to this style floor that he handed down through here the other day. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll say that again. The high school gyms, obviously, they operate under a different kind of budget. They're going to the old wooden floors. But the high-use facilities, recreation leagues, that sort of thing, they're going to a different style floor, and they're getting rid of these rubber floors. Now, I have a question about that rubber floor. Is it cracked in the material in it? Is it starting to bleed out? It's got a rubber coating on top.
Right, it's poured all the way down to the subfloor to your waterproofing. So some of the cracks, especially the one on the side we just opened up, it's getting down pretty good. But what they do, they come in and fill that with silicone and cut off the top of them. Yeah. And then if any more comes up, once you notice them, you do the same thing. You fill them with silicone, cut off the tops of them.
Okay, does the county have, it looks like a Zamboni machine. How do you clean that floor?
This is damp mop only. They say you can put wet mops on them, but I wouldn't do it just in case.
Yeah, you're running a risk.
Right. There's no reason to take the risk. So it'll be damp mop. But yes, we do own one of those machines.
You own one of those machines?
Yeah.
But you don't use it?
We do it on the rubber floor now.
Yeah, on the rubber floor.
Yeah. But we won't.
Oh, no, not on this new stuff.
No.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Do we have the funds to cover this in the recreation splash?
Yes, sir.
After the gym?
This will be about it in that line item.
Is there any less expensive replacement floor?
Not this type of flooring. There's another version of this kind of floor through Vista Court, a company out of Chattanooga, and he actually gave me Snap Sports number to call because they are a cheaper floor, and Mountain Zion Recreation Department has it. It's got holes all in the top of it, so dust and dirt gets down in the bottom of it, and they didn't recommend it. And he said, if you want something that looks more like a basketball court and will live up to years of use, he said, go with them. And that was from Vista Court.
Just personally, I guess from a frugality standpoint, I would have a real problem if we hadn't gotten 13, 14 years use out of it already, because it somewhat disgusts me that we had a perfectly good floor. And then I know it wasn't you, like you say, your predecessor, but we just intentionally drilled holes in it and put the gymnastics equipment in there and basically ruined the floor and then turn around and ask the county for more money. That just doesn't work, in my opinion.
I agree totally.
Okay, could I entertain a motion and a second, please?
Motion made.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
You won't be back for a while, right?
I'm done. As Vicky used to say, I'm not asking for any more money.
All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, great. Thank you,
Thank you.
Vince.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll now call on Public Works Director Charles Pope to present his request to purchase vehicle scales for the county's transfer station.
Thank you, Chairman, Board of Commissioners. What we're proposing is to replace the truck scales at the solid waste transfer station. These scales was installed 25 years ago, so they've actually done pretty good. But we had one of the pins to break back in March. The scales were down 17 days straight. And it cost us almost $13,000 to repair just one pin. So what we're proposing is to replace the scales. We got two quotes, one from Scale Systems and one from Atlanta Scales. Atlanta Scales is the one that actually installed these scales 25 years ago. And of course, they are actually the cheapest bid at $44,027 against the next was $54,140. So that's what we're proposing, to go with Atlanta Scale Company.
Is there a warranty with those scales?
They are, yes.
How long?
I think it's a 5-year warranty that's in there.
And then it says 10-year structural warranty.
Yeah. And these scales will fit right back in the footprint that we got now, which is a concrete box. If we go with any other type of scale, then we might have to cut it out. And downtime means a lot to us.
I'll make a motion to approve the landfill scales and award Atlanta Scales Incorporated at $44,027.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Great. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Okay, before moving into the zoning session, I would like to read the policies and procedures governing the conduct of zoning hearings. The applicant or anyone speaking in favor of the application or request shall be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present their request. Anyone opposed to the request shall also have a total of 10 minutes to present their opposition. If there are multiple speakers for or against an application, ask them to please be mindful to allow others to speak should they wish to do so, and it will still be the same 10 minutes total. Anyone speaking for or against the application shall be allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal. Janet, I'll ask you to step forward, please.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The first item that I have for you all tonight is a rezoning on Muirwood Drive in Temple, Georgia. This is consideration of owner applicant Aaron Blow's rezoning request. His application is number Z-19-07-01. He's asking to rezone his property from ag to R2 residential for the purpose of splitting his property to build a second residence. His property is currently zoned ag, and the minimum lot size in ag zoning is 4 acres. He already has less than 4 acres in the 2.01 acres that he has. He's asking to rezone to R2, which is a 1 acre minimum. This property is parcel 100-0012. The address is 100 Muirwood Drive. It's at the corner of Muirwood Drive and Morgan Road. This property is in Commission District 3, Commissioner Lee's district. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning request. It does meet the future land use established by the county. Planning Commission did recommend denial of this application, and the applicant is present. Mr. Blow?
Good evening, how y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, my name's Aaron Keith Blow, and my address is 100 Merwood Drive, Temple, Georgia. And I wanted to get a rezone, request rezoning from agriculture to residential so I could build another property on the house. Thank you. I mean, another house, a single-family house on the property, and basically that's what I wanted to ask, for a request for that.
Is there anyone else here with you to speak in favor of the rezoning?
No,
Okay.
I'm the only one that live on that property right now.
Okay. All right, we're still within the 10 minutes, but if you don't have anything else to say, I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition against this. Okay, I'll ask a second time. Any opposition? Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
I do.
Okay.
Is this second home for sale for profit, or is it for part of your family?
Oh, it's not for, it's for, not for a party or family.
It's not, you're
No, sir.
building it to resale?
Yes, I'm building to resell it.
And it meets the zoning land map? Is it next to a subdivision?
It's actually, sorry.
This property is at the corner of Muirwood Drive and Morgan Road. Muirwood Drive is the entrance to a subdivision. Muirwood Drive is a one-street subdivision. And those lots in that subdivision are about half an acre.
And there's no opposition?
No.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll ask for a motion and a second.
Motion made.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hands. All those opposed? Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Janet, if you'll come up and present our second one.
The next item is a conditional use. This is owner applicant Clint and Amberly Nally's request. It's application C-19-07-01. This is a conditional use for a special event venue. This is parcel 150-0135, located at 2715 Northeast Hickory Level Road in Villa Rica. This is also Commission District 3, Commissioner Lee's district. Staff is recommending approval of this application. Planning Commission also recommended approval of this application. However, they did ask for some conditions to be placed on the approval. They asked that all events end by 10 p.m. They asked for the approval to be only for this owner and not to be passed to any future owner of the property. And they asked that all new structures must be at least 50 feet from the property line. Planning Commission also recommended approval of this application, and the applicant is present.
Hello, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Amberly Nally. This is my husband, Clint Nally. We live at 2715 Northeast Hickory Level Road in Villa Rica. Clint and I were both raised in Villa Rica, and Clint grew up on Hickory Level Road with his parents and grandparents. We are here today to ask for a conditional use permit for our property on Hickory Level Road. This property was purchased from Mr. Kim Barber, who's not able to be here today, but was at the planning meeting. We have done an enormous amount of work on this property since we purchased it. We purchased this property to build our home, but in doing so, we built a barn first where we lived with our 3 boys for 19 months. In doing that, we were able to host 2 weddings to 2 special people. Our first wedding was our boys' babysitter, and our other was 2 employees of ours. After the weddings, we were asked by many people in the community to consider making our barn an event venue. We have spent lots of time considering this. We also own West Georgia Gymnastics Center located in the city of Villa Rica. We have been in business there for 16 years. We offer gymnastics classes and birthday parties on the weekends. Our goal is to promote a clean, safe, and beautiful environment for families to create memories. We plan to have weddings, receptions, class and family reunions, and corporate events. Most of these events will take place on the weekends. Myself, Clint, or Miss Regina Rivers, who also lives in the Hickory Level community for the last 37 years, will be on site at all times. We will require all events to follow all state, local, and law to abide by any and get any permits that are needed through Carroll County. We feel that this will also help bring in revenue for Carroll County by having guests eat in the restaurants and stay in local hotels. In the planning board meeting, our neighbor was the only one there. We have two neighbors, but to the right of us, that was opposed to having this venue. She did make the recommendation that it end at 10 p.m. She does own the property next door to us, but she does not live at that residence. She actually lives in Atlanta. We have, let's see. All members of the Hickory Level community present today is Mr. Bob Fountain. He is the president of the Hickory Level Community Association. They have supported us 100%. In the meeting, she did ask that the board put a 10 p.m. stipulation on our venue. We feel that this would be detrimental to the growth of our business. We are asking that the commission board remove that and make it the same as every other venue in Carroll County. That's all.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor with you two?
Mr. Bob Fountain is here. I don't know if he wants to say anything, but
I'm Bob Fountain, 4255 South Hickory Level Road, Carrollton. I'm also the president of the Hickory Level Community Association. And leading up to tonight's discussion of this petition, I personally went around within our community in Hickory Level and talked to as many residents as I could. After talking to them, I sent by electronic transmission our support of this effort to the chairman and our commissioner, Mr. Lee. Last week, we had a community meeting, which we had the pleasure of having the chair with us. We again addressed the issue of this facility going in to that area under conditional use permit. It was unanimous among the community members in attendance that they supported this event. Additionally, I've taken the extra time to visit with neighbors adjacent to this property, with the exception of one, and they all border this property. None of them had issues or concerns with the property and the plans for this conditional use except that one individual, which I have not been able to personally talk to. So our community stands in support of approval of the petition. Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? I'll ask again a second time. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Okay, hearing none. Are there any questions for staff?
I have one question.
Okay.
Ben, we have a noise ordinance already, and it's, what time is that?
Commissioner Lee, Carroll County currently does have a noise ordinance in effect, and it starts at midnight.
Okay.
So, and all other venues within the county is following that same midnight cutoff rule.
Good enough.
Thank you.
So let me ask a question.
To approve.
Let me ask a question. With that said, nobody in the community would complain about it with us using the midnight cutoff time versus the 10 p.m. cutoff time? Everybody's still in agreement?
That was addressed at our meeting last week.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the county ordinances as they exist now, most of the community felt like they were good up into the following the ordinance.
Okay.
And within our community, everybody says, we don't care what you do as long as you comply with the ordinances. So that's really the issue.
I make a motion to approve, and let's follow the county ordinance at midnight. as
Second.
far as cutoff.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Stacy, do we need to clarify anything?
It's just a motion, a second with no time limitation.
12
Right.
midnight.
Using the county's ordinances, yeah.
It's the county
Use the
ordinance.
county ordinance as a
Follow the county
condition.
ordinance.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
What?
Oh, yes, there was the other,
There- Planning Commission recommended a condition limited to this owner. You do not have to accept that. It's up to you.
You don't have a problem with that?
I don't have.
Okay, let's attach that.
You want to
Yeah.
amend your motion?
Right, I'll amend it to,
Add the condition that it's limited to this,
right.
and you need a second to
Second.
okay, is there any discussion?
One additional thing, there was an item 3 that any new structures must be at least 50 feet from the property line. We're going to include that as well, or is that strict?
Yeah, I think that's part of the county permit.
That's the, yeah.
Okay, well, it was just one of the 3 items listed, so to
I
clarify.
think
the-
she was confused that she thought that something was, and she had the plat backwards, so.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve this conditional use, removing the 10 PM and going with what the county ordinance says. And the conditional use would only be to this family. So if you sold your house, someone would have to come back and ask for a second, a different conditional use. Okay? So all in favor? All opposed?
Thank
Okay,
y'all.
great, thank you.
You wearing it out, Jen?
Okay, Janet, again?
So the last item I have is a rezoning on Pleasant Ridge Road. This is applicant Matthew Sutton. The application is Z-19-07-02. This is to rezone from ag to R2 for the purpose of splitting the property in order to build 2 single-family residences. This is parcel number 089-0887. This is also in Commissioner Lee's district. This parcel also is zoned ag, and it's already less than the required 4-acre minimum. The applicant is asking to split it so that he can build 2 residences. He's asking for R2 zoning, which is a 1-acre minimum zoning. There is other small lot sizes close by, as well as other subdivisions close by. Staff is recommending approval. This does meet the future land use for the county. Planning Commission did recommend denial of this application. And Mr. Sutton is present.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Sutton, live at 704 Moat Road, Carrollton, 30117. This is my business partner, Todd Lambert. What we're wanting to do is to split the 2 lots, or split the 2 acres into 2 1-acre lots, and eventually build 2 single-family residences. We're going to start with 1 residence at first, sell that, and then build the second. The size home that we're proposing to build is around 2,000 square feet. It's a craftsman-style home with rock and brick accent on the front, masonite siding, no vinyl siding. We're looking at a price range between $250,000 and $300,000 to sell it for. We look at this as adding revenue to the county. We have had a soil test done and completed for 2 conventional systems on the property. Todd's got those, and these are the plans, if y'all would like to look at a set of plans that we're proposing to build depending on approval. I'm good. I mean, I don't see anything else.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor with you tonight?
Good evening, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Dale Johnson, and currently reside at 733 Pleasant Ridge Road, just north of the subject property. And known Mr. Sutton for a good while. His property joins ours. He did build his own personal home, and he's done a very fine job, and I really have confidence that, our community would be pleased to see what he's, anticipating doing there. So the property, the width, I think lends it to, splitting, and I think it would be a desirable location for that, but, and I speak in favor of it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Okay, I'll ask a second time. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Okay. Are there any questions for staff or the applicant?
Ms. Janet, this does fit our land use map.
This does meet the future land use for the county.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I hear a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to thank the entire board for approving the budget tonight. I know it's been, for some of us, a long, long process, but thank you very much. I know the county employees will be very happy on the August 22nd paycheck. So if there is no other questions or discussion,
Second.
all in favor? All opposed? Meeting adjourned.